Hi, everybody. Welcome in. This is Prophetess X. I am formerly known as Chevy Cool Lady, and I'm remixing an old Micah Francis video that I had made for you sometimes back. It was very popular, got a lot of views, and it has a lot of information that some of you who are either new to the case or have been following along may have missed. So I thought some of this information is worth rehashing. So I'm going to go ahead and play that for you and have a commentary at the end. So please stay tuned, stay with me to the end, like, subscribe, share, and all that stuff. Have a great day.
Mica's marriage to John Paul Miller began with a hushed, clandestine wedding on a dark, secluded stretch of beach, performed and officiated by John Paul's so-called spiritual advisor, Pastor Randall, in November of 2017. A few days later, Mica underwent breast augmentation surgery, an operation, according to family and friends, that was not wanted by Mica, but done to appease her pleasure-seeking hobby, a surgery, which led to a destabilizing event that would start John Paul's relentless narrative to control Mica. This was followed by a church ceremony on the 31st of the following month, New Year's Eve. Mica's father, Michael Francis, said in an interview that this ceremony was just for show. Because of her reaction to anesthesia, according to John Paul, she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and began seeking treatment for this newfound condition at Waccamaw Mental Health. Well, it turns out that Pastor Randall's daughter just happens to be a supervisor at that facility, and according to this article, she also worked at McLeod. Both places have seen Mica as a patient. Other medical documents have surfaced, and there are some questionable decisions that were made about the care of Mica. Back in 2009, Dr. DeCenci pleaded guilty to 10 counts of distributing a dangerous narcotic, oxycodone. After serving 3 years probation, she packed it all up from Pennsylvania and moved down to sunny Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where she, on multiple accounts, is listed as an addiction specialist. This gets deep, people, so hang on to your hats. In 2009, the doctor went through a divorce where she was represented by this woman, Nicole Gavis, an attorney with Winslow Law Firm. Does that name sound familiar to you? It should, because he has been woven in and out of this complex story right from the beginning. He's JP's very good friend, a member of Solid Rock Church, and an attorney who's done quite a bit of work for John Paul in the past. There's some other things you need to know about Mr. Winslow. One is that it has been reported that he, along with John Paul, are still under FBI investigation. You might also remember him in connection with the AI controversy over that last 911 call that supposedly was made by Michael. He claims actually to be a specialist in this field. You might also remember that Mr. Winslow has 200 plus acres right on the Lumber River, where Mica's body was found on April 27th. So we see that there's a connection to John Paul, AI, the property near the state park, all these things related to the Mica Francis case. But wait, there's more.
Tom Winslow also helped JP get power of attorney over her. It's also on his website that he specializes in artificial intelligence. Now, Tom Winslow is now allegedly being investigated by the FBI.
Their follower out there, or there's no reason for her to go out there. That's the main point as well. She's never been out there. We don't go up there. It's not a family spot. And she was off the trail enough into a park ranger only area that nobody knows about. And so
these side effects can be serious and they can become permanent. You need to call her doctor. This is important. You got to listen to her. She's trying to tell you what she's feeling. And I kind of felt like there was like a lack of empathy on his part that day. And he just kind of looked at me. He said, yeah, well, I just went and got her a Xanax. And I was like, you gave her a Xanax with the medication she's on, is that prescribed to her? And he said, no, I went and got it from a friend. I'm not going to call the friend by name, but it's one of John Paul's very, very close friends.
So we can see by multiple accounts that JP not only had friends who were in positions to prescribe medicine, but also took control of Mica by giving her street drugs and other people's prescription on his own. So there is a ton of documented evidence that shows that JP thought that Mica was going to be in a delusional state for the rest of her life. In fact, he stated that a medical professional told him that he might only see the woman he married once or twice a year. He catastrophized the whole situation, making it seem like Mica was literally out of her mind unless she took her meds. But he had no trouble giving her an unprescribed Xanax, among other things.
Oh, yes, the meds and the redactions. Let's talk about those last few lines of this report. The clinician wrote, I stress that the better outcome is when patients follow all the recommendations, like therapy, compliance with meds. And here she wrote in all caps, as prescribed. So therapy, which Mica only went to once, it was the only appointment so far that JP appears not to have been a part of. And meds, quote, as prescribed, understandable, right? At the beginning of the report, she wrote that JP said he had taken Mica off of one of her meds on his own, so that makes sense. Then it goes on. In parentheses, patient and husband, redacted, or redacted. Beth, you want to zoom in and read that again to us without the redactions? Patient and husband stop meds on their own or share each other's meds.
But listen, despite the findings from law enforcement that Mica had died by her own hand, that the sheriff's office saying John Paul was not in Robeson County when Mica died, do you believe there is more to the story, correct?
Yes. It's there's a lot of details that they did not cover, and because it was equivalent in their eyes to previous self-inflicted wounds, I believe the law allows them to do less work. It does not prevent them from doing more work. And since there were multiple shell casings found and a live round found, it already didn't make much sense. So it would seem that they would automatically do a complete toxicology, not just blood alcohol, and complete autopsy, which they did not do. And we're just devastated that they didn't, because John Paul rushed the cremation process.
I find it really odd how John Paul seemed to have connections everywhere concerning Mica's health. He had connections through his spiritual advisor to both medical facilities that saw Mica. He had a friend who handed out apparently prescription medicine like it was candy, and he had no qualms about giving that to Mica at all. And yet somehow he tried to make it seem like all he cared about was for 7 years was making sure she took her medicine so that nothing would happen. And he said when she was with him, it was fine. It was perfect. They had a perfect marriage, according to him, despite all the evidence against those statements. In my opinion, John Paul is just one of the most hypocritical, self-indulgent people I have ever even heard of. And to see through this documented evidence, affidavits, and exhibits that John Paul himself turned into authorities without even being asked. He had gone on TikTok, remember, and said he had 350 pieces of evidence and would not only present them, but would tell who was responsible for Mica's death. Well, you know, John Paul, after looking at all this evidence and seeing how unscrupulously you handled pretty much everything that you ever touched, in my opinion, I can see very clearly who I believe is responsible for Mica's death, her untimely death. We miss her. I never even got a chance to meet her. And how do I blame you? I really want to thank all the content creators who have been diligent to stick with this case, to keep promoting justice for Micah. I want to sincerely extend my sympathies and my heart to the Francis family, to her friends and relatives who dearly miss Micah. I want to also thank in particular for the excerpts I used in this video to True Sunlight, Robbie Harvey, and especially Voices for Justice with Danielle, who has supplied all the wonderful documentation to me, and it's in the links in the description as well for your own review. Thanks so much for joining me. This is Chevy Cool Lady. Please remember, like, subscribe, share, push all the buttons, and do all the things. You mean the world to me. Love you so much, and I will see you in the next video.
On freezing, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make the shit that I don't think I'll do. Have no regret, I'll chat up my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to be in debt. Baby, step in the fact that I show you what happens. Pass me the mic and I'll show you with action. I feel this pain already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you could never own. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you could never own. If I die, the things you know you love. Scars, I'm a human being, covered in with tattoos so you can't see. Knew it from the start, you had problems with me, and the things I could be, I just wish I had seen. I feel this pain.